Well, let me begin. I do try to do, yes, polemical stuff, but also more analytic work. I will do a more analytic breakdown of the reactions to Rings of Power and how the assessments are breaking down. It seems like it's in four places. People who really know the books and really know the films loved it, and some of them really didn't like it. And people who don't know the books and kind of know the films, again, same thing, they loved it. And other people were really mixed. They were like, it's okay, or it's like, it's very below average. So the opinions are going four ways. But here we're going to focus on the infamous Jeremy of Geeks and Gamers and his issues with some of the positive commentators on Rings of Power. And of course, he hates most of them, but I will be fair, he did recommend at least one of them, even though he disagreed with them. But we're going to focus here especially on Nerd of the Rings, or NOTR, to hasten the conversation. And his problems seem to be that NOTR is not as negative as he is in a lot of senses.
1,000, and that's like 300,000 views so far on this one. 300,000 views, and it has 15,000 downvotes. Now,
Well, to begin, I don't think Jeremy's a very intelligent person. I'm not saying he's completely stupid, but it is a fact. He just doesn't know very many things, because if he just knew basic math, yeah, 15,000, that's 5%. We take 300,000 and then we take 15,000, that's 5%. That's not great, but if 95% of the audience is either neutral or positive, I don't think that's the apocalypse. But now let's get into the more interpretive stuff, where again, he's making some very questionable assumptions about what NOTR is up to.
coverage on a lot of things, but they're already trying to draw a line in the sand. This review is not for you if you think like this. Already drawing a line in the sand. Listen to what they say here in this review. I think it's very interesting.
A quick FYI, if you're one of those who's fully dedicated to either hating or loving this show regardless of its actual content, this review, or any of my coverage on this series, likely won't be something you'll be interested in. But if you want an honest opinion and you're interested in nuanced assessments and respectful conversations around the world of Tolkien and its adaptations, I think you'll enjoy the Nerd of the Rings community.
So apparently NOTR is bad because they're gatekeeping, which is one of the most laughable charges, because a lot of Geeks and Gamers content, but especially with Rings of Power, is all about gatekeeping. I think I've lost count of how many Jeremy videos I've seen. I literally think I've seen at least over 100, if not 200 videos by Jeremy. Quite literally, almost one out of every 3 videos I've seen by him is all about gatekeeping. And with Rings of Power especially, he's encouraging fans to gatekeep. He literally says in the video, I want the Tolkien fans to gatekeep. I want the hatred. I think you should hate Rings of Power. I like and love the Tolkien fandom that they hate Rings of Power. I encourage that. I want more gatekeeping in the Tolkien fandom. So even if he's correct, NOTR is bad because they're doing what he says, but they're not doing it the way he said to do it. So even if he's correct, they're gatekeeping. He thinks that's fine, but they may be gatekeeping in a way he doesn't like, allowing some positive coverage of Rings of Power that he doesn't like. Well, okay, first of all, you're contradicting yourself. But even if we follow your points all the way through, who cares? If they're gatekeeping according to you, that's a good thing. So you still haven't made any point. But then he gets to the real issue he has with NOTR, and apparently that's that NOTR, they're not sufficiently masculine, so he doesn't respect them.
Downvotes and the negativity. That's exactly what that was. Make no mistake about it. And that's what you get right there. The fact that you are trying to sit here and claim that you want respectful conversations and nuanced discussions, but you're already painting all of these people with a broad brush. That's projection at its finest right there, already setting the tone. Maybe that's why you got downvoted to hell. Pretty interesting. That's all I'm saying. Now, moving on. There's more reviews out there. IGN's review. I have no problem. I honestly have no problem if you like Rings of Power. Like, that's not my problem here. My problem is when you have people like this that are saying, If you're dedicated to hating or loving, you're not welcome here. But if you're looking for respectful conversations, you're welcome here. Like, the fuck does that even mean? How about you not be a little bitch and just give your opinion and let people think whatever they want? How about that? For a change of pace. But no, you got to put your qualifiers out there. That's the whole, oh, like, if you voted for this person, you're not welcome here. Like, shut the fuck up. It's
Well, it's unfortunate for Jeremy, but I actually did see this video in its entirety, and I gotta tell him, he's really radically misrepresented what NOTR did with that video. Because if you actually went through the video carefully, they are somewhat negative towards Rings of Power. They are actually critical of a few things. Now, I'm a little bit more positive on Rings of Power, so I think some of the issues they brought up were legitimate, but I think some of the worries they brought up were frankly not that strong. So them thinking certain things were canonical violations, to me, are not really canonical violations. I can understand what they're saying, but I don't think they're correct. And I do think NOTR overall does good content, but sometimes they do get things wrong, or sometimes their coverage is skewed. But they are fairly knowledgeable about Tolkien. So I'm a little bit more positive about Rings of Power, but I think their criticism overall was fair, but sometimes it was wrong. But they were mixed. They were mixed positive, saying, they're a little mixed on a few things, but overall they have positive feeling. They're definitely not saying they approve 100% of what Amazon did. That's simply not in the video. So Jeremy really is misrepresenting them.
the media is still out there holding the line, holding that corporate line, protecting that multi-billion-dollar company, because of course they are. But we're going to look a little deep
out in the hills. With Morgoth's destruction of the two trees, we're launched into a montage of a prologue sequence, which I think is trying to walk this balance of being unable to depict certain things, trying not to lose casual fans, and giving imagery that appeals to book fans.
No, that's not an opinion, it's a fact.
NOTR is not doing that. They're not doing corporate propaganda. They're just not doing that. You may not like their coverage. You may not like their videos. Sometimes I don't like their videos, but I don't think you can say with any credibility they're being shills. And just calling this person a little bitch, why? What the fuck is wrong with you? Just because they're not going to become a full-blown Hitler maniac and devote themselves to pumping out hate videos every 2 seconds? There's something wrong with that person. How? Why? What's your evidence? All they said is, I'd like some respectful conversation here on my channel. And you hate them. You're calling them a little bitch. I don't know if Jeremy really is a neo-Nazi fascist racist. But I do know this. He often uses the techniques of the Nazis. He often uses the techniques of the racists. He often uses the language of the racists. That's not disputable. He literally does that. His channel does that. His corporation does that. This video is not totally garbage. He did bring up some good points about bias, but really, I don't think anybody can take him seriously. I will say this, though. I think, if anything, he's very helpful to Amazon in Rings of Power, because anytime people will question the show, and with legitimate concerns, I think they can point to, unfortunately, with a lot of credibility, is a lot of the Tolkien fandom, and I'm being very generous, if we're including Jeremy as a Tolkien fan, because I don't think he is. I don't think he knows anything about Tolkien. I don't think he's read the books. I don't think he even knows the films, because he gets that wrong too. So it seems like he's a very passive, stupid fan. And him saying he's representative of a lot of Tolkien fans shows maybe a lot of Tolkien fans are really stupid and don't know what the hell they're talking about. So that's unfortunate. But I actually try to take Tolkien seriously. I try to read what he said with some seriousness. I don't see anything that Tolkien would approve of in this video. It seems like just a lot of hateful, rhetorical nonsense. And he didn't raise any genuine, problematic points NOTR made in terms of bias, in terms of that video. But the video has some good points, but overall it's the typical Jeremy, just a lot of hate-filled nonsense, and him escalating the conversation into a very radical, extreme place for no reason and on the basis of greed, frankly. So it's unfortunate that part of the Tolkien fandom is following him, but that's their problem. And if they want to be stupid and ignorant, they can, but that's not very relevant to understanding Tolkien at any real or deep level, at least in my humble opinion.